Well, thank you guys for being here. For all of you that are going to labor on Labor Day, we appreciate that. I know that's, I said that to my wife as I left out this morning, and she said, well, what's changed, right? Ever since I've been working, I don't know if I call it working, but in football, it's just that time of year. So I appreciate you guys being here. We didn't switch up the dates just, so that you guys could take Labor Day off. So obviously week one, I'd start off by saying I thought it was a great night and a great atmosphere. I thought the students got in there a little quicker. It looked like it was filled up by mid first quarter. I think that was something that was noticeable. I know our guys mentioned something about that as well, and the night was obviously a great night. What we didn't do a good enough job of is getting the ability to get the home field advantage into play. That's on us, right? I think if there's one thing that really kind of stands out to me that we need to do a better job of is taking advantage of what we've got in that atmosphere that we weren't able to kind of get rolling just by the nature of what the game was, right? We get the ball 3 and out, we get the ball for the first time, take it like 15, 16 plays and miss a field goal, and you go in at halftime, it's 10-7, and it's been about an hour and 10 minutes, and you're just kind of curious. It's like an NFL game, right? There were 3 possessions on both sides, 1 punt, I think, in the whole, or 2 punts in the whole first half, and just very unique and different. And then we created a ball game, right? I mean, maybe there was some good things about that, right? There's the new environment there in the stadium that when you play the full game, maybe there's some advantages to that. But it didn't exactly look, I'm sure, like some of you guys maybe would have expected it. Maybe not exactly the way we expected it, but I think in week one, there's always things that you got to be able to adapt and adjust to. And I would tell you this, that I thought, give them credit, they did a really good job at finding a way to slow the game down. We didn't do a good enough job at not allowing that to happen, but they also pretty much came out in different defensive philosophy and even offensively than a lot of the things that we prepared for. And so that was a challenge and made it a little bit unique on us. They did a good job at eliminating our ability to make some big plays defensively, and in the whole game, to be honest with you, I think in the whole game they had 3 plays of plus 20 yards and we had 0 plays of plus 20 yards. And that's just one of the ones that as you continue to watch it over and over again, you just try to figure out how that kind of happens and what as methodical as it is. But when it comes down to it, we knew that the number one thing for the program is we have to be able to win fourth quarters. And we were challenged in the fourth quarter, that's for sure. And we found a way and played our best ball in the fourth quarter, made some things happen, and really kind of controlled the line of scrimmage. And that's where, that's what we had to do. We just should have done it, I think, a lot earlier.
Start with questions here, Mark.
Luke, as far as adding Jack Del Rio as a special advisor, can you talk about that addition? What you're hoping he'll bring, and have you ever done anything like this in your career before?
No. As the summer hit, I was looking, and there was a few guys out there that I think it's a unique thing. Like it only works if you've got some type of relationship to me, right? To just have people around, to be around. I don't know what that really does. And had some ideas going into the summer, based on, good friends of mine that maybe were out, or even other guys that could kind of come in and say, okay, it'd be nice to have somebody in a little bit of a different role, my special advisor to the head coach, but really uniquely to help us with some things, offensively, defensively, a different eye, a different view, but also in this evolving world of what we're going to go into next year when it comes down to this revenue sharing stuff too. And so somebody that can give us some insight on the experience of what the NFL is like in some of those ways. So there's a lot of different things that I was looking for and didn't find somebody, so it wasn't like we were just going to do it. And then in camp, Jack came to visit and spent 2.5 days with us, and it just kind of was one of those things that was pretty unique. He was actually open to doing something, and I had been kind of talking about that. And so our history goes back a little bit, that when I was trying to still play down in New Orleans, he was my workout partner for about 8 months as he was getting out of the league, and he was just getting into the NFL as a strength coach. And for like 7 or 8 months, we were workout partners as I rehabbed back and became pretty, somewhat tight there and stayed in contact. And so for me to have somebody in here that's, obviously got a different eye and a uniqueness to be able to communicate with me, but also to give us some other perspectives on different things. I think it can be a really good thing for us.
Steve, over here.
Just you touched on it a little, but specifically having somebody whose primary background is in the NFL rather than college, what kind of dynamic does that bring? Just the NFL perspective.
No, I don't want him to think that it's an NFL perspective. It's a football coach's perspective. It's a really sharp guy, smart guy that sees things through a lens of a head coach as well to help me. It's a guy that for our guys offensively is another eye to say, okay, hey, here's some early on scouting report things of a defensive eye, truly watching the stuff and what I see. And then obviously defensively with Coach Tressel and just another perspective. He's going to be a guy to really kind of evaluate the game after it's over, give us some insights on some things that he sees from his eye. Not being in the room all day, every day, you get a little bit of a different perspective. And then where the program is going to continue to grow to, there's some new things in how you're going to structure some of that stuff based on what you believe in your system. And so he gives us a different perspective on all those things.
So can you quantify what Aaron Witt has brought to this program, not just on the field but off, and people?
Well, I would mention that, and I know Aaron probably, I don't know if we want to talk about, but he lost his mother last week, and it was a very difficult situation. But he wanted to be here. He wanted to be with his teammates and things like that. And, the guys that truly know Aaron, like the guys that are older on this team, understand all the different things that he's been through. The younger guys don't, but I don't think you have to understand him to recognize his passion and love, not just for the game, but for this place and this program and this team. And so he provides so much to so many different people, to be honest with you. The young guys just recognizing, what passion looks like, what energy, what effort looks like, and to the older guys, what adversity looks like, what, the ability to, not, waver in what it is that you want to do, regardless of what the situation is. That perseverance for the older guys is quite unique. And even for us as coaches that didn't know him and don't really know all the different things that he's been through, to be tied and to see a guy to be an example in your locker room, he means a lot more than what you just see on the football field.
Colton over there.
Luke, it's kind of a two-part question, but obviously every position has its learning curve. For cornerbacks, in your experience, what's that learning curve when you jump from the high school to the college level? And then how has a guy like Xavier Lucas maybe accelerated his?
Well, I think at that position, there's maybe not as many things. I think it comes down to your learning curve initially is, can you do the simple things really well? Meaning, can your ability, play into the factor before all the other, little fundamental things, the knowledge of the game and the different things that you do. That position gives you a better opportunity probably to play at a younger age if your skill set when you walk in matches what it is that you actually need to do on the football field. And I'm not saying everybody doesn't, but big guys coming in, they can be strong, they can be physical, but there's a different nature to that. Guys, athletes coming in have a better shot if they are, skilled wise able to do some of the things that, that don't take a whole lot of, development, right? I mean, natural abilities and his ability to run and cover, it does that. So the good news is we've got some depth in that room. The good news is he's got some really great guys to learn from and battle with. So he did. It wasn't the first play. I think some said maybe the first play he was in when he made that play, but he was actually in there a little bit more. Actually was going to go in the series before as well. So he's a guy you're going to continue to see more and more of. And his skill set matches, the things that allow a young guy, especially at that position, to play really early and play well.
Back here, Zach.
Luke, I hear that Phil was still signaling in plays, offense plays. Is he talking to Tyler as well in that? Is there any reason why still signaling stuff in?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you don't know, I mean, like in college football, not many people huddle. So it's really difficult to think that you don't have a headset in everybody's helmet, so the signals have to still go. There's things that he tells Tyler that he can now signal to the wideouts on adjustments, but we even said that going into the summer, like I don't know how offenses, unless they huddle, are really going to use the microphone, right? It's more of a check or some reminders and things like that. We still signal defensively because in a hurry up situation, you can't get it to everybody. It's not, the NFL huddles. So I think that, trying to figure out how those things can work and be the most efficient to you, but it doesn't help you in those hurry up. I asked every NFL coach that I knew, hey, how do you use it? And they said, well, we don't want to rely upon it because in any tempo situation or any 2-minute situation, we can't use it. So we have to make sure we're efficient in doing the things that we do and the ability to signal. So it's there, we use it for different things, but unless we're in a methodical, slow down huddle situation, it's probably not going to be something that can be echoed across the front.
Yeah, just getting a chance to look over week 1, what's the biggest takeaway from Tyler's performance, good and bad?
I think it starts with taking care of the ball. I think he made some really good decisions. The red zone is the one spot where, I think he started to, maybe force some things, and we were fortunate to the balls hit the other guys' hands, and in those situations, that's what we can't do. So if I was being most critical, it would be the red zone situations when, we're in those positions where we know we've got points, not that we want field goals, we want to take our shots and have the opportunity, to score touchdowns, but that's where we've got to be better efficiently. Run the football, but also on Tyler as well. And then his ability to really kind of work the whole field. I think he took what was given to him. He wasn't overly aggressive in week 1 where you think you've got to be the guy to make all the plays and pull the ball and throw the ball down the field. Let's take what they give you. Let's make sure we stick to the game plan. And he really did those things. Now, we're going to continue to grow and, put him in some more situations where, hey, there's going to be more shots. There's going to be more opportunities for you. His ability to pull the football and run was good. It could be better. I kind of harassed him a little bit, one of the clips in the team meeting where he pulled and maybe got 8, 9, 10 yards when, he can get a lot more. And he laughed about it too. But all in all, I was impressed with how he handled everything. A new guy coming in, wanting to kind of showcase everything and do things like that. He really kind of stuck to the plan and did what we wanted and needed him to do.
Coach, kind of a 2-part question. As much as you love the evening game at the camp, the atmosphere, is it going to be back to a 2:30 kick where it's a little more? And then what do you expect on Saturday from South Dakota?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, night games are awesome. They're difficult because they're a long time waiting around. A Friday night game in week 1, I would take it every time. I hate missing high school football and our abilities to interrupt some of those things for for our locals in the state. But it is what it is. Being back at 2:30, you get back into this rhythm, into this groove, getting into that kind of, it feels like the season of what you need. And then for this game, I think it's in a lot of ways going to be very similar. It's going to be a hard-fought battle. This team's going to have a plan to come in here and do a darn good job at slowing the game down. I don't think there's any mystery about that. They'll be physical. They'll run the football. They'll take shots. But they're probably going to be in a similar type of game plan of what Western Michigan was, and our job is to not allow that to happen. And sometimes it gets to the point where you just you got to find ways and adapt, adjust. But I see it in a lot of similar ways. The unique thing about it, a lot of these kids grew up probably fans, and so our guy Will and better make sure they understand these guys walking in here, they're not going to be bat an eye at anything. They're coming in here to play physical. They're coming in here to win, and we recognize that.
Let's go to Nick, and then.
Hey, Luke, we've talked a pretty good amount about some of the veterans, in the running back room. How did Cade take advantage of some of his reps Friday, and just what do you feel like he adds to a deep room like that?
You kind of wish there were more opportunities, and I'm not saying there weren't, but when he did have his opportunities, he ran the ball really well. He is definitely a different player than he was last year. He starts on 3 special teams. He's a guy that everybody in the program trusts and believes in, and his opportunities are going to be more and more. Tywee got a little dinged in the first series, and you thought you weren't going to have him, and that was going to be a lot of Cade walking in and coming in there and being the other guy, and then obviously Tywee came back and was able to go. But Cade is going to continue to do what he's done, and he's going to be there, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities for him. I don't know where and when. But like we've said to a lot of these guys, the way the game was, it didn't give us maybe some more of those opportunities for him to get in there. But yeah, I thought he did a really good job. I think he had 3 or 4 carries, and he definitely runs different even than he did last year. And he's actually very versatile in a lot of different things that we'll continue to do with him.
Nigeria was one of your defensive players of the week. I'm just curious, can you share with us kind of what stood out to you about him?
Very consistent in what he did. He was physical, made a really big effort play on one of the reverses, running across the field. But it's just the consistency. It's seeing where he was last year and where he is now and the things that he's done. And like I said, there weren't a ton of big plays, right? I mean, so it was hard to pinpoint to say, hey, who's the player of the game? But there has to be. And if there's nobody that was probably more consistent, I think he had 5 or so tackles at the corner position, which is unique. So he did everything we asked him to do as well. It just doesn't quite show up sometimes in the stat line, and maybe what everybody else notices because there weren't as many shots down the field, there weren't as many big plays, there weren't even an opportunity for him to get his hands on a football, but everything that he had an opportunity to do, he did really well.
Did you go over here?
So Luke, with week 1, and I guess for you, with even if the game gets close like that, like it was on Friday, how much is it trying to not show everything in your bag, compare both offensively and defensively, even if that may help later?
You do. Obviously, every game you go in, you got a plan, and there's some things that you don't want to do everything in week 1, but you also don't know exactly what it is you're going to get. And I think the thing that probably changed as we got into the game as much as anything is, whether we had some other things that we didn't end up doing, we got a lot of things that we didn't expect. And no credit to them. Defensively, they changed up a lot from what we had expected they would be in. And offensively, they really did a lot of different things that we didn't probably expect to see as well. And which limits you to, okay, now if there's not a whole lot of things you practice, you got to do what it is that you do, and becomes a little bit more vanilla and methodical. And that's why I said that unfortunately, we played into the hands of the way they were playing. And we weren't able to take advantage of some of the other things that we need to do a better job of, and I put that on myself. But when it comes down to it, I mean, the game's about winning, and it was a battle. Everybody knows. But I could tell you from your guys' face, we walked in here afterwards. You were like me. You expect something, and when you don't see what you expect to see, sometimes it can get a little bit. There's some things in your gut, but as you go back and you really watch it, and you recognize why and how. Then you start to feel a little bit better. Okay, now this is just some of the things that have to happen as we continue to grow. And there's a lot of things that we are going to be very glad that we've been through as we continue to move forward.
Jesse, when you consider the impact Tretch had in the snaps that he got, do you look at that and say we've got to figure out a way to get him more snaps, or what would that look like?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to take care of the football now. I mean, there's a big situation right there where the ball goes on the ground, but he is what we're talking about, right? Is somebody that's got an opportunity to make some big plays. And so he will continue to get more and more. It's kind of unique that obviously him and Will play in similar positions. And again, the game, kind of led the way it did. And we had a plan that we wanted to be physical and do some things like that. So there weren't going to be maybe as many opportunities. But he's the guy, you guys know, you saw him in the bowl game for the one game he really played. You see him in week 1 that, when there's an opportunity, when the ball's in his hand, he can be electrifying. We got to continue to build that trust and putting him in those situations to allow him to be himself. And the more he takes care of the football, the more he does the little things, which he will, the more opportunities are going to still come his way.
Luke, you said Friday you wanted to get the players' feedback on the iPads on the sideline. What have you heard over the weekend about how that went and how you can?
They liked it, but sometimes what it is that they like and what it is that we think they need can be different too. So it's still one of those things where we've got to figure out how much more, because it was a unique game, right? I mean, they had the ball, there's 3 drives in the first half, so unfortunately, you could watch every one of those plays 3 or 4 times over. I don't know that that's the best thing for them, even though they like it, right? I mean, does that really allow them to just kind of, get back into the mood of, or are they always too much thinking and dwelling upon what has happened in the past? So that's why it was kind of unique. It was a methodical game, three possessions in the first half on both sides of the ball, which gave you almost too much time to eval all of the little things that you maybe didn't do a good job of. But no, nonetheless, it's reinforcing the things that you do when they're able to actually see it instantly. And I think in the long run, it's going to be a really advantage to us.
2 more, Rohan and then Mark.
Coach, one of the players who maybe didn't see as much time in the game was Brandon Lane. Along the defensive line, what did you kind of see from that group as a whole, and do you think maybe in the coming weeks he'll crack in?
Yeah, we need to play all 6 of those guys inside a little bit more. And Brandon's a guy that will and deserves to play. You know, it just kind of was one of those situations where there's only 53 plays, and the rotation wise didn't allow for maybe to get as many of those guys in. Dylan Johnson's got to play more. Elijah Hills has got to play more. I think all of those guys, I think just our ability to make sure that we'll continue to roll those guys through, because it's physical in there, and whether there's 50 or 60 plays in a game, you know, we've got to do a better job at balancing and making sure those guys get in there. And we will. I think uniqueness of that week one, and the guys weren't tired, right? I mean, you come off the sideline, there's only 3 drives. Those guys don't want to come out. Not that they want to come out any other time. We know what's best for them. But you just get into one of those situations where it's hard to take some of those guys out. But no, he deserves to play, and him, Dylan Johnson, Elijah Hills, all those guys are going to see more action.
Going back to Aaron Witt, I guess I'm curious. You know, there was a stretch, obviously he missed a lot of camp for, you know, whatever scoring issue was. But he came back and he's been a guy that you guys still trust to put on the field. Just can you talk a little bit about what, from a football standpoint, what has he done that's gained that trust, and kind of what do you see as his strengths right now?
Well, I mean, obviously his strength is physicality. You know, he's also probably one of the smarter guys on the team. I mean, he understands all that we do. So when you get into a game, especially like that one, where there's a lot of things that maybe you hadn't quite prepared for, with some of the different looks and some of the tight end formations, he gives you the opportunity to go in there and make adjustments. You know, not that the other guys can't, but he's just one of those guys that, in all that time that he had missed, I think he really studied the game. I think he really, found a way to add value and to be prepared for when he was healthy. And I think it's paying off, because he's a guy, again, that missed a lot of camp because of his groin and missed spring football because of his shoulder. But through all those different things that he's had to battle through, all those adversities, he's learned how to really work at the game to get better, so when he comes back, he hasn't missed a step. And that's not normal for a lot of guys. Unfortunately, he's been through a lot. He's had an opportunity to do that, but he gives you the utmost confidence, because when he goes in there, you know he's going to do what he's supposed to do. And it's going to give him an opportunity to even play faster, even though he hasn't had as many reps.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey,